Hey, Longsiders and friends, welcome to the online gathering, the last gathering for 2024. We're a few days out to 2025. I hope you celebrate safely and with those that you love as we ring in the new year. But now I just wanted to remind everybody, just got a few more days for you to give to Longsiders to allow us to continue just to make headway in our community giving budget for 2024. There is a donate link or a QR code right next to me, maybe right now, or you can find that on the website, the app, but make sure everything's postmarked, right? So if you send something in mail, postmark it by the 31st of December, or if it even is an online gift, make sure it is postmarked by the 31st. All of it matters. All of it counts. Anything and everything that you can give would definitely help us out here at the end of this year. So that's first and foremost. Secondly, January 5th is Epiphany Sunday. We're kicking off the year together, 10 o'clock in the morning. Look forward to being with you then. For now, enjoy this reflection coming to you from John.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whether you're tuning on your phone, your tablet, or your TV, laptop. Just thank you for tuning in online and just taking a moment out of your day to reflect. So if you don't have one with you, I'm going to ask that you just pause and grab a notepad or a journal and a pen, something to write with, because we're going to close out 2024 with some personal reflections on the year. And if you're watching this alone, or if you're watching with somebody nearby, you may also want to consider inviting that person to watch it with you, because sometimes that's just helpful for some of us to do this reflection conversationally. And so how I'm going to do this is I'm going to share some thoughts, and then I'm going to provide a gap with a short timer on the screen for you to process and engage around some of those thoughts and questions. And we're going to do a couple of rounds of that to just kind of break it up, keep us on our toes. Does that sound good? Okay. This is my Spotify Wrapped report for this year. Those of you who don't know, Spotify is a popular music streaming app, and the Spotify Wrapped is a thing where my phone notifies me that 2024 is wrapping up, and it's time to remember that life moves fast. Thank you, Spotify, for that wisdom. That I listened to 13,323 minutes of music and podcasts. Yes, that is a lot of minutes, probably too many minutes. And that I really, really like Vampire Weekend. So far, no surprises. Mary Boone is a very good song, but Spotify did tell me I guess I'm in the top 0.05% of people who like it this much. And Spotify told me that May was my pumpkin spice, folky, alternative country moment. First of all, Spotify, that seems like a stretch. Second of all, what in the world happened in my life in May that I was drawn to this particularly unique genre of music? And third, what is pumpkin spice alternative country? So anyways, there you have it, folks. Spotify Wrapped. And I share this because it just got me thinking. What does it look like for us to wrap our 2024? To take a moment at the end of the year and to reflect on the silly things and the serious things, not maybe with Spotify's metrics, but with our own metrics coming up against God's metrics, God's values, God's love, God's grace, which don't seem much like our own metrics at all. And in some way continuous with our theme, this Advent season, what does it mean for us to say yes to this glorious, beautiful, terrifying, I wouldn't want to do it again, I'm glad I made it, year of your life that was 2024? Paul writes in his letter to the church in Galatia, each one should test their own actions. Make a careful exploration of who you are and the work you have done and been given, and then sink yourself into that. Don't be impressed with yourself. Don't compare yourself to others. Each of you must take responsibility for doing the creative best you can with your own life, in the words of the message. Or how about this in 2 Corinthians 12? Test yourselves to make sure you are solid in the faith. Don't drift along, taking everything for granted. Give yourself regular checkups. I just want to look at Paul's first words here, that we are to make a careful exploration of who you are and the work you have been given, and then sink yourself into that. In the tradition of the church, we have the gift of this reflective prayer structure called the Examen. The Examen was first articulated by Ignatius of Loyola in 1522. Ignatius was a Catholic priest who founded the Jesuits. It's a helpful structure, this Examen prayer, that mirrors Paul's instructions with 5 simple movements. And I want to start for our first engagement just looking at these first 3 movements of the Examen. Number 1, to begin the Examen prayer, just place yourself in God's presence. Give thanks for God's great love for you. So to put it as a question for you, what is one affirmation God might be speaking to you as you're listening to this right now? See, we have a tendency to become highly critical in the process of reviewing our own lives. And so I feel like this gentleness is just essential. What God thinks of us, in Paul's words, is who we actually are. Number 2, pray for the grace to understand how God is acting in your life. Remember, Paul says we've been given the work. The work has been given. That doesn't mean we've been abandoned to it, but rather we have the companionship of God in our life. And then as Paul says, we're going to sink ourselves into that. That meaning God's work with us. And this, all of this together, is each of our lives. So the third point in the Examen prayer is to review. In the case today, I would like to say, review our year. And what I want you to do with your pad and your pen is just jot down some formative experiences. And next to those, put the month they happened. It can just be a word. Don't get into whether it was the best or the worst. That's way too much pressure to put. Just put things that come to mind. Pick some events and just park them on your page. Now, to close out this time, this first step of engagement, recall specific moments and your feelings at the time. So pick one of these formative experiences. That's all we'll have time for right now. And let yourself just take a moment with your eyes closed after you choose that event and re-experience it. What did you see? What did you hear? What did you touch or smell? And most of all, what is the predominant feeling that you come away with from reimagining this time? And then this last little note is not part of the formal Examen prayer, but I want you to do this as you ease out of this moment. Just breathe a slow and simple yes. For some of you, this may be a new kind of yes, an accepting, humble, gentle, hopeful yes. So, with your journals, I think this one's best to do alone. Process this simple 3-part prompt for the next 4 minutes. Or you can hit pause and take as much time as you need. that was helpful for most of you. Maybe for some of you, it stirred up something pretty unpleasant, or maybe it brought some peace to a hard situation in your year, or maybe some deeper understanding of a moment in your year that stuck out to you. Whatever it is, could we just say that one more time? Could we just practice saying yes to that moment? Yes, that moment happened. Yes, this is how we acted in that moment. And yes, God is present in that moment, as God was present in the entirety of our year, companioning us, walking with us in our life. The Psalms are a good place to help guide us in reflection. They're one of the best places to help guide us in the ancient Hebrew scriptures, to figure out what it means to reflect, to watch David or the other psalmists reflect on their lives. So I'm going to read Psalm 39, and I just want you to imagine it as if David has just gone through the exercise you just took yourself through. David writes and sings, I said, I will watch my ways and keep my tongue from sin. I will put a muzzle on my mouth while in the presence of the wicked. So I remained utterly silent, not even saying anything good, but my anguish increased. My heart grew hot within me. While I meditated, the fire burned. Then I spoke with my tongue. Show me, Lord, my life's end and the number of my days. Let me know how fleeting my life is. You have made my days a mere handbreadth, and the span of my years is as nothing before you. Everything is but a breath, even those who seem secure. Surely everyone goes around like a mere phantom. In vain they rush about, heaping up wealth without knowing whose it will finally be. But now, Lord, what do I look for? My hope is in you. We're not going to take apart this text. I only put it here to notice what Dave is doing as he speaks. There's a collaborative element to his reflection. It is both introspective and relational. Like you, he first recalls a specific moment, a specific event, or a series of events, and he simply observes the feelings that it stirs up within him. He remembers it like videotape, noticing certain things upon reflection. Then he begins to discern what was good, what was bad, or what was godly, or what was ungodly in himself and in what happened around him, among the others that the experience was shared with. And finally, he looks forward, reminding himself to hope in the Lord. And this is really important. David does not reflect so he can mine the past day, month, or year for some accomplishment or some achievement or some sign that he's on the right path that will give him hope for 2025. His reflection, like all of ours, uncovers and stirs up, and as they all so often do, gives him this resounding sense of incompleteness. It begins to feel overwhelming, sometimes maybe pointless, futile. Any of these feelings can come up when we're looking at our own short lives and wondering what it all means. But he parks the incompleteness in hope. He asks God, what do I look for in 2025? So for this final period of engagement and processing, you can either turn to a friend or journal on these last 2 points of the prayer of examine, which in many, many ways mirror David. The instructions are this: reflect on what you said, did, or thought in the instance that you recalled. But this time, do it in relationship with God. Were you drawing closer to God? What the church has historically called consolation? I love what local author Brian Doyle calls it. He calls these wonderful moments grace notes. Or does recollecting these experiences remind you or pull you further away into desolation? What we often call despair or anxiety, depression, or fear. And just note that. Sit with that with God for a moment. Explore that. And then, only after you've taken some time in that space, imagine tomorrow. Think how you might collaborate more effectively with God's work. Be specific. You might pray the Our Father prayer, the Lord's Prayer, or you may simply, just at the end of all of it, say to yourself or each other, yes. So be well, alongsiders. Well done on your 2024. Happy New Year. Many blessings to the first days of 2025 until we see each other again. Let this closing time of engagement take as long as it needs. There'll be a timer on the screen, but feel free to pause. I hope that this whole experience not only introduces you to a process you can carry in your own reflection throughout the year, but I hope it brings you closer to God as you meet the coming year.